This is Part 3 Episode 160. Your Majesty Luo Feng. Elder Sai Fan Chi communicated urgently, the absolute geniuses of our Goldhorn race aren't weaker than the geniuses of humanity. However, as there are 10,000 tribes in the entire race, the number of domain lords far exceeds that of a universe country. And the most elite of geniuses get guidance by the doyens, their standards are naturally not low. Luo Feng nodded. Right. As they constantly feel threatened, the geniuses of the Goldhorn race are probably nurtured even more than that of humans. Even the universe Knight's Doyen gave guidance to the geniuses. The top 10 of this generation have the Beiji brothers. Sai Fan Chi communicated. Among the top 10, the other 9 all have the origin law comprehension of the Heavenly Bridge 9th level. And the strongest, the elder of the Beiji brothers Bei Chiu, is the only one with the power to pass the 10th level. Look, the thousands of youths that wanted to challenge you before, they are all pretty strong, like Zhou Ari, he's one of the top 10 amongst the domain lord level genius. Luo Feng blinked his eyes, looking at the group of Goldhorn race youths gathered, he felt a little ashamed. He hadn't thought too much of them initially, he had forgotten that these were the geniuses of an entire race. Even if they were weaker than humanity, they wouldn't be too weak. The top 10 geniuses of humanity were also the primal region members. 9 of them had passed the 10th level of the Heavenly Bridge, 1 passing the 11th. The 10th level and the 9th had a huge fundamental difference. Every 3 levels is a jump, 1 to 2, 4 to 6, 7 to 9. The absolute beginning region's large amount of geniuses were all stuck at the 9th level, passing the 10th was simply too hard. Luo Feng was shocked. I didn't expect there'd actually be one domain lord level in the Goldhorn race who can pass the 10th. Looks like he's close to the power level of the members of the primal region. The one called Bei Chiu. He was the only one capable of competing with humanity's domain lord level primal region members. Luckily I'm not fighting Bei Chiu, but the other Bei Chuang. Luo Feng thought. With my current strength, against Bei Chiu, I have no chance of winning. Even against Bei Chuang, it's still very dangerous. After hearing Bei Chuang had the strength to pass the 9th level, Luo Feng understood he was in trouble. Human genius Luo Feng, are you afraid? The black-skinned intrepid youth Bei Chuang roared. His eyes were like spotlights, staring at Luo Feng. Ha ha, since I've agreed, I will naturally battle you. Why don't you pick the time and place? Luo Feng replied. All right. Bei Chuan was extremely happy, saying loudly, then we'll head out immediately. The time is today and the location will be the arena outside the city. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. From such a simple exchange, a match between the geniuses of humanity and the Goldhorn race was set. The simple exchange had riled up the thousands of those gathered beside, even the guards of the palace all cheered excitedly as their voices echoed through the wilderness. Bei Chuang. Bei Chuang. Bei Chuang. In an instant, the geniuses of the Goldhorn race were all extremely excited, all shouting Bei Chuang's name. Right? As one of the top 10 domain lord level geniuses, he was indeed worthy of representing them in fighting the human genius. Everybody relax. The youth Bei Chuang looked at the thousands of clansmen, immediately shouting loudly, Bei Chuang will definitely win for our Goldhorn race, definitely. Victory! 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 Thousands of youths roared excitedly. Luo Feng looked on silently at the scene, thinking, victory, right? This battle. I already have no way out, I have to win. This battle represented not simply himself, but the glory of humanity. The moment he lost, then Bei Chuang's name would be passed down for generations for countless years amongst the race. They would always remember the day Bei Chuang defeated the human genius Luo Feng. The more they emphasized the importance of this, the more humiliated Luo Feng would feel if he lost. The only way out was to defeat Bei Chuang and win. Human Luo Feng. The youth Bei Chuang's fighting spirit was soaring. He was excited like he never was before. To the arena outside the city, let's go. Let's go. Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng's group and the Bei Chuang along with the other geniuses all headed towards the arena. Along the way, many of the geniuses immediately connected to the virtual universe and sent the news to all their friends, telling them that the human genius was about to battle their race's Bei Chuang in the arena. The Goldhorn race was subservient to humanity. Hence, they too had rights to use the virtual universe. However, they were limited within a fixed space and could mostly only interact with their own race. A lot of their privileges were also restricted, like not being able to use the slaughterhouse, etc. However, the most basic communication was still viable. News spread like lightning, swiftly throughout the entire sacred city. The human genius Luo Feng is about to battle our race genius Bei Chuang. In the arena outside the city. It's about to begin. Right, the human genius, you heard right. Human. The news spread madly. The residents of the sacred city, that were busy with their own affairs, all dropped everything and swiftly flew over to the area outside. If one looked from high above, he would discover that traffic, which had formed from the sheer number of those rushing over from the city, was almost like a river flowing outwards. In the arena outside the city. The strong pride of the race. The dissatisfaction of being subservient to humanity for countless years. Naturally, they felt some inferiority towards humanity. The people living within the sacred city were normally proud people. At this time, those that lived in the core of Laos word were all extremely passionate. They longed for victory. Wishing for a genius from their race to defeat the genius of humanity. The arena outside the city was extremely vast. It was a special spot within the sacred city. Actually, before the Gold Horn race had moved over back then, it didn't have the tradition of arenas. However, after Shiluo Juo's disappearance, it made them feel extremely threatened, hence all sorts of things popped up. For example, forbidding geniuses from killing each other, yet fearing they would lack the sense of true battle, hence the arena was created. Battles were forbidden within the sacred city. Only within the arena could one have a battle. And the arena was built similar to that of the humans' huge Axe Dojo arena. Master, our area only has 100 million spectator seats. Usually, this number of seats are enough for the battles. However today, Master, our seats aren't enough. A grey-skinned youth pointed into the distance. Another tall gold-skinned man looked up. In the distant skies. It was a black blur, as hundreds of millions of Gold Horn race clansmen were flying over. The sacred city, as the core of the entire Gold Horn race, there were over 2 billion residents here. Those able to live here were all mostly warriors in training. Very few battles actually enticed them. However today, over half of them all rushed over. Half? That alone was over 1 billion. The seats aren't enough. The gold-skinned man roared. Give the order, immediately get rid of all the seats, and act according to our celebration procedures. Yes. The grey-skinned youth replied. The huge arena was undergoing lightning-fast changes. The original settings of the comfortable seatings etc. were all removed. Even the comfortable booths, luxurious loft viewing areas were all completely taken away. The entire arena was reset to fit more people. So many people. Luo Feng sat in the resting quarters and looked out at the sky through the window, seeing the dark cloud of people, as this went on for over 10 minutes. They should all be here to watch. Dylan looked up too. This sure is shocking. There's no way to make such a huge area in the human world for so many people to come spectate. The large-scale fights are normally all held within the virtual universe, that way it's easier without the chaos. The virtual universe and reality sure are different. Luo Feng shook his head. Your Majesty. Dylan looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng turned. Any guarantee? Dylan looked at Luo Feng. Not much guarantee, however, this fight, I have no other choice but to win. Luo Feng's eyes focused. Over 3 hours passed. Your Majesty Luo Feng, you can enter the arena now. Elder Sai Fan Chi walked in. Luo Feng got up. Be careful. Elder Sai Fan Chi said, battles in the arena, the moment you are careless you will die. Luo Feng nodded. He definitely understood this. This was a fight in reality, not one in the virtual universe. This kind of life or death battle, especially involving the glory of two races, had no space for showing mercy. Everybody used all their strengths, and the matches were quick as lightning. The moment one was hit it could result in death. Luo Feng walked out of the room and followed the pathway, with the arena's staff leading him and Dylan, finally reaching the vast arena stage. Rumble. The cheers raised terrifying shockwaves, almost demolishing the entire stage. Luo Feng looked around, seeing the blur of silhouettes all around him. Also, from the second level of the arena to the highest level, all of them were completely filled, with even more floating far in the distance in mid-air. Bei Chuang. Bei Chuang will win. If you lose, commit suicide. You have to win. Definitely. Victory! Victory! All sorts of noises filled the entire space around them. Over 1 billion gold horn race people roared, causing Luo Feng to helplessly hold his breath. Luo Feng looked ahead. There stood a green-armored black-skinned intrepid youth Bei Chuang. At this time, the gold imprint on his forehead was gleaming with red. He had already reached a state of madness. Due to the strong pride for his race, generations of battles against humanity, and over 1 billion of his clansmen roaring, it had driven him to this point. He had to win. Even if he died, he had to win. In the pathway leading to the arena, the undying guard Dylan and Elder Sai Fan Chi stood. Elder Sai Fan Chi, when the battle starts. Dylan looked at the elder beside. No matter what, you must protect His Majesty's life. I know. The elder said seriously. I will be very careful. The moment the victor is determined, I will immediately stop the battle and guarantee His Majesty's safety. Dylan's expression was serious, turning to look at the calm Luo Feng. The Grandmaster made me protect you. I definitely cannot slip up, absolutely. Dylan muttered. For this battle, just this enormous arena with 3 levels filled with standing silhouettes, and the distant floating ones in the air, including the gold horn race people around, there were over 1 billion of them. Just the Undyings alone were over 1,000, with quite a few Emperor-level Undyings too. No matter what, during the most crucial time, we have to protect Bei Chuang and that human's life. We cannot have any bad things occur from this. Everybody do your best. All the Undyings were thinking alike. However, none of the Undyings around dared to say they had a 100% guarantee, because Luo Feng and Bei Chuang were both spirit readers. And the thing that determined their victory was either themselves physically, or their spirit weapons piercing through the opponent. And piercing through the body, by this time, one could already have lost his life. Of course. Luo Feng was but a genius of humanity. Dying in these sorts of public matches, humanity side wouldn't be dissatisfied. However, the relationship between the two races wouldn't be affected by a little genius that was simply like another small ant. Silence. A voice engulfed their entire land and skies. The sounds of over 1 billion clansmen immediately quiet down, however they were all still extremely passionate, all staring at the arena. This battle. On one side we have our genius Bei Chuang, and on the other we have the genius Luo Feng. The booming voice resounded like thunder. The rules are simple. If one side admits defeat, or is defeated, the battle ends. Right now, the battle of Bei Chuang and Luo Feng will begin. His voice echoed throughout. Over 1 billion gold horn race people stared at the stage and held their breaths. Standing in the stage, the silver-armored Luo Feng and green-armored Bei Chuang stared at each other. Gold horn race, Bei Chuang. The youth Bei Chuang shouted loudly. Human, Luo Feng. Luo Feng stared at his opponent. The two of them had about 10 kilometers between them. They simultaneously rose into the air and floated there. On their backs each, a dark golden long rod appeared and flying spirit weapons appeared below them. You use the Nanshan armament too. Bei Chuang snorted at Luo Feng. Our gold horn races, Chiluo Duo, is the true creator of the Nanshan armament. Then we'll just have to see who uses it better. Luo Feng said coldly. All right. Bei Chuang's gaze grew fierce. Rumble. The dark golden long rod on his back shot out countless gold lights. Luo Feng's gaze was like lightning, staring at his opponent. His long rod behind shot out countless golden lights as well. Instantly, the blade silhouettes floated and interweaved with gold origin law threads. Through the combination of space and gold laws, his spirit energy fused with the laws and formed a world, Blade World. That human genius uses the Nanshan armament too. They are both using Nanshan armament level 6, Blade World. Bei Chuang's world seems to be bigger. Over 1 billion gold horn race clansmen were discussing softly, watching excitedly. Rumble. Rumble. The two Blade Worlds had just formed and immediately clashed. The worlds clashed, causing the ground to tremor. Countless blade energies crumbled. The Blade World that Luo Feng controlled had tears in it, almost like it was about to break apart. It's about to break. The human genius is inferior. Bei Chuang is about to win. The gold horn race people were incredibly excited. He is indeed a genius that the elder Sai Fan Chi had deemed powerful enough to pass the Heavenly Bridge's 9th level. His Blade World is obviously stronger than mine. Luo Feng roared and immediately raised his spirit energy amplitude to over 3,200 up to his max, causing the shaky blade world to instantly become steady and stronger than before. Rumble. Rumble. The two blade worlds clashed again, and each clash shook the entire space about. His blade world has suddenly reached perfection. Bei Chuang's expression changed. The blade world was separated into 3 levels. As one's comprehension grew higher, the first step was making the blade world grow more and more steady, reaching a final level of perfection. Normally it required being able to pass the 9th level of the heavenly bridge, to be able to have the blade world in its most steady form. Even after Luo Feng's 50 years of training, his origin law comprehension was only about the pinnacle of the 7th level. It couldn't be helped. With over 3,200 spirit energy amplitude, it made his spirit energy usage raise by over 32 times. It also allowed his control of the blade world to instantly reach that of passing the 9th level. While others only had 1, I have 32 people to control the world. Even if my comprehension is lower, I can still reach that level. Human genius. If he couldn't reach this level, that'd be weird. Bei Chuang thought, his lips curling into a smile, his eyes gleaming with light like never before seen. Then let's see who's stronger. Blade world. Condense. Bei Chuang gritted his teeth. The two blade worlds were initially clashing, however Bei Chuang's world suddenly shrank more and more. Similarly, its density grew higher and higher, finally forming a huge 10-meter-long crystal-like blade that covered his body. The 10-meter-long blade had completely encompassed the blade world within. Without any wastage of energy, it was condensed extremely well. This was the 3rd level of the blade world. Condense. Luo Feng roared. With over 3,200 spirit energy amplitude, immediately the vast world with 10 kilometers diameter shrank, and instantly formed the 10-meter-long crystal blade. He stood within the blade. You will lose. Bei Chuang roared. Bring it. Luo Feng only had his opponent in his eyes. With the two of them using their crystal blades and controlling them, they left behind a gold rainbow, as they rushed towards each other and clashed. Bei Chuang's crystal blade was fast as lightning, unpredictable and ferocious. Luo Feng's blade was like an all-encompassing power, piercing and straightforward. The two had completely different styles. Rumble. Rumble. The two blades that were filled with the blade world energy were fast and terrifying. Every clash was like two absolute swordsmen exchanging attacks. Luo Feng looked up fiercely and discovered that his crystal blade had tears at the top. He couldn't help but feel shocked. In this level of clash, his crystal blade was no longer as stable as before. It was about to crumble. He's about to win. That human genius's blade world blade is about to crumble. Ha ha, he's bound to win now. Bei Chuang hasn't even unleashed his strongest move. He's already mastered the special move within the blade world, space tremor blade work. The moment he unleashes it, that human genius will definitely lose even more. Humph, it goes without saying that our Goldhorn race is the true birthplace of the Nanshan armament. With countless techniques for the weapon, that human using the Nanshan armament will definitely lose. Sturdiness doesn't last. Such a simple logic, do you not know it? Bei Chuang roared, what a disappointment, the human genius actually only has such little power. I haven't even used 70% of my strength. Watch my strongest move, space tremor blade. The crystal blade that Bei Chuang controlled triggered the power of the land and skies. Its speed grew and instantly rushed at Luo Feng. What exquisite control! Luo Feng was shocked. He had only acquired the Nanshan armament and knew a few basic ways to control it. How to unleash the greatest strength of each level was all based on his own comprehension. However, within the Goldhorn race, the 9 levels of the Nanshan armament, every level had the fitting techniques. These techniques were created by the generations of Goldhorn race. They required a certain level of origin law comprehension to unleash. One person's created battle techniques. How could it compete with countless techniques created by generations of geniuses from the Goldhorn race? Rumble. The crystal blade Bei Chuang controlled already created a blur of images. The surrounding space warped and was engulfed within the blade. Its power was utterly terrifying. Natural ability, strengthen. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Within his internal world, the enormous golden horned beast raised its head. A gold glaring light shot out from its gold horn on its forehead. It engulfed its entire body and the natural ability was triggered. His consciousness strength instantly doubled. Blood warrior, blood river energy, trigger. Luo Feng seemed like he was in madness. Against his opponent's overwhelming Nanshan armament, Luo Feng had unleashed his natural ability of strengthening and his earth body's blood river energy. Having absorbed 3 blood river crystals, it made his earth body's law fusion double, strengthening the power of his crystal blade. Since using the natural ability strengthen, and his consciousness increased, his control of the crystal blade also rose. Quadruple the power. The crystal blade Luo Feng controlled connected with the universe space and grew even more terrifying. Its speed increased and its rush was even more powerful than before. Gold, strong and solid like the sun, piercing and invincible. Break. Luo Feng's eyes were bloodshot. Space tremor blade. Bei Chuang's crystal blade too pierced through kilometers of distance and reached Luo Feng. Rumble. It was like 2 trains clashing head-on. Like Mars clashing into Earth. Bei Chuang's crystal blade began to split apart, and with a rumble, the incredibly condensed blade world exploded open. Large amounts of little blades scattering throughout. Luo Feng's crystal blade, however, was dominating, rushing forward, piercing straight at Bei Chuang's body. Rumble. Bei Chuang was completely knocked tens of kilometers back, smashing into the side walls of the arena before falling down. Through the crystal blade he controlled, Luo Feng looked at Bei Chuang. That final hit on his body, he obviously felt a powerful force blocking. Even though it seemed like he flew far, in truth, the overwhelming life-threatening force was over 90% reduced, otherwise Bei Chuang would have been reduced to a mess. At the crucial time, it should have been an undying that saved him. Luo Feng thought. It was good too, when he unleashed his moves, he didn't hold back at all. It was silent. When Luo Feng floated in mid-air above the arena, in his crystal blade, over 1 billion Gold Horn race clansmen were silent. They had lost. From the start of the battle, the Gold Horn race's Bei Chuang had always seemed on top. Even towards the end, he was still very confident as he unleashed his strongest move, using the World Crystal Blade to unleash Space Tremor Blade to cleanly defeat Luo Feng. However, the outcome was flipped. The human genius suddenly rose in strength and completely destroyed Bei Chuang. How could this be? How did he suddenly lose, just? Countless Gold Horn race clansmen couldn't accept the result. And the host of the match once again spoke with his booming voice, "This battle, the human genius Luo Feng wins." After hearing the result, Luo Feng couldn't be bothered to go check on the injured Bei Chuang. He swiftly flew back through the pathway. "Congratulations, Your Majesty." Dylan smiled. "Your Majesty, Luo Feng's strength is really out of the ordinary. You've been in the domain Lord level 9 for such a short time, and you are already able to defeat our genius Bei Chuang." Elder Sai Fan Chi congratulated him. However, from his tone of voice, one could feel he wasn't completely happy. "Let's hurry and go." In Luo Feng's ears, he could hear the over 1 billion Gold Horn race clansmen all shouting, discussing, cursing and even all sorts of challenges. Many of the youths shouted, "Human Luo Feng, I challenge you. Human Luo Feng, accept my challenge. Accept my BASIWA's challenge." The challenges, the cursing, all sorts of noises seemed to almost tear apart the skies. "We have to leave immediately." Dylan nodded. "They are too passionate." Luo Feng shook his head and laughed. The normal people of the race highly wished for a victory. Bei Chuang's defeat will indeed rile them up with dissatisfaction. Elder Sai Fan Chi shook his head and sighed. However, they are normal civilians and their perspectives are narrow. They cannot see the true difference between the human race and our Gold Horn race. Just the victory of a genius battle alone has no use in the face of our entire race's survival. However, as it unites our people, even though we know it's useless, we still have to support it. Luo Feng nodded. "Your Majesty Luo Feng, let's leave from the back." Elder Sai Fan Chi said. Luo Feng, the Elder, Kashna, Dylan and the 5-sector Lord Guards secretly followed a back path leaving the arena. However, the moment they stepped out, they encountered another group of youths blocking their paths. "Human Luo Feng, please accept my challenge. Human genius I Kai Nuo issue you a challenge." The group of Gold Horn race youths were incredibly passionate. "Let's go." Luo Feng frowned. "Right." Dylan nodded. "Relax, it's no problem." The elder used his undying energy to suppress the group of youths and their pestering. Luo Feng's group swiftly tore through the skies and headed towards the city. The city was incredibly vast. There was another city within the sacred city, the Sacred Land. The Sacred Land was the most sacred place within the entire Laos world. There were some training quarters within, specially prepared for the warriors of the Goldhorn race. One was called the Technique Tower, and another was the Sacred Tablet Tower. In terms of importance, naturally the Tablet Tower was higher. Look! Elder Sai Fan Chi pointed into the distance at a white tower over 100 km tall. That is the Technique Tower, where the countless techniques written by our warriors are placed. In there, you can read a summary of the many techniques. Summary. Luo Feng was stunned. Right? The elder nodded. There are countless techniques in there in order to help the later generations make the best choice. We've placed a summary of each of the manuals in there with basic details and information about it. That way, the reader could read through it and get an understanding of what they would be training and their procedures. As for the precise training techniques etc., it's not in there. Luo Feng nodded. Only once the person has confirmed the book and sent a request will he be given the true manual. The elder smiled. After all, we've accumulated manuals over countless years, and their worth is immeasurable. If we placed all the manuals in there, it would very quickly attract powerful races coming in to steal them. And right now with only the summaries and no training methods, it's very safe. Luo Feng understood the reasoning. The other Sacred Tablet Tower is where the tablet is stored. The elder pointed at the other gold tower. Your Majesty has the chance to study the tablet alone, you'll be entering that tower. Look! The entire sacred land is a city within the city. The elder pointed around. There were quite ancient living quarters about without any fancy decorations. They were all made simple and looked ancient. With a glance, large amounts of them gave off a very special ancient feeling. The pathways were filled with many warriors slovenly in dress and manner, all pensive and lost in their thoughts. The entire sacred land didn't have any entertainment construct or restaurants. This was a type of training atmosphere. To own a place in the sacred land to train, one either has to be an incredibly respected and powerful warrior, or be an absolute genius, or a person the doyens respect. The elder exclaimed. The ones training in this sacred land are the future hopes of our Goldhorn race. Your Majesty, our Goldhorn race has prepared a place for you to stay. The elder smiled. Please follow me. After a while, an ancient training quarters soon appeared within sight. Luo Feng and his group stood before it as the elder pointed at the building. This is already considered a huge space within the sacred land. Your Majesty can put your guards in here, and even after a month of studying the tablet, you can stay here and slowly absorb the wonders of the tablet. Your Majesty Luo Feng. Outside the quarters, a black armored Goldhorn race man bowed respectfully. From today on, this space will be your living quarters, you can stay as long as you want. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. You 5 can rest here. Luo Feng ordered his 5 sector lord guards. Yes, Your Majesty. The 5 bowed respectfully. Dylan, follow me to check out the tablet. Luo Feng smiled. Luo Feng brought Dylan, Elder Sai Fan Chi and Kashna, and walked over 100 kilometers, arriving before the majestic sacred tablet tower. He looked up at the completely golden tower that was over 100 kilometers tall. Human Luo Feng. A deep voice resounded within his consciousness. I am the guardian of the sacred tablet. You have a month to study the sacred tablet alone. Will you begin now? Right now. Luo Feng nodded. Okay. The sacred tablet guardian immediately interrupted the group of Goldhorn race clansmen studying the tablet, and chased them out of the tower. Some of them didn't even finish using their study time, however due to their being a human, they would all have to wait a month before they could continue. Human genius. Look, he's over there. I was studying well and was actually interrupted. I still have 3 more days. Now, I'll have to wait a whole month before I get to finish it. Seriously. It had to be a human. Tens of Goldhorn race clansmen walked out of the tower and glanced at Luo Feng, communicating amongst themselves. However, they didn't dare stir any trouble, chatting a while before leaving. Dylan, you can all go back first. I'll go study the sacred tablet, and come out in a month. Luo Feng said and headed in. The moment he entered the tower, he felt a bone-chilling cold. By simply breathing, he could feel the cold temperature permeate deep into his body. Human Luo Feng, I am the sacred tablet guardian, you can call me guardian. A dark red-skinned man, completely covered in an exquisite black armor. Revealing only his purple eyes through his helmet, he stood there giving off an incredibly terrifying piercing energy. Beside him was a 3-meter tall huge blade that was stuck in the ground. It gave Luo Feng a formless pressure. That didn't seem weaker than True Yang Emperor. Guardian. Luo Feng bowed. Enter. The Guardian said solemnly. Luo Feng nodded. He headed straight through the black pathway and proceeded. Very quickly, he entered an incredibly vast hall. Looking up, he could even see the roof of the over 100 kilometers tall tower. Obviously the entire tower only had one level, and within this vast hall there was a majestic crystal sacred tablet. The entire tablet was 300-meter tall, 100-meter wide and 50-meter thick. It was made of a completely dark green crystal body, and it gave off an energy that made one hold his breath. Simultaneously, there was a hole right in the center of it. The hole was about 30 centimeters in diameter, with a depth of 1 m. It was a round conical hole. It's different from the 52 primal chaos tablets of humanity. Firstly, the material is different and the feeling is different too. Luo Feng stood before it and saw the 300-meter tall green crystal tablet. On it was a peculiar demon picture, a human-shaped demon howling. Demon howling picture. The entire crystal tablet has only this one picture, and the center actually has a conical hole. Luo Feng muttered to himself. He didn't think much more after that and began to examine the tablet. The moment he focused on it, his consciousness couldn't help but get sucked into that demon picture. Rumble, his consciousness was sucked into one of the wings of that demon picture. It was like looking at a vast endless space, and in it the stars were aligning. Luo Feng just had some comprehension. At this point his internal world, which had been stuck at the Domain Lord pinnacle level, seemed to have been affected by something. Suddenly it began to tremor. Luo Feng was shocked. He immediately pulled himself out of his immersion in the tablet, understanding instantly what was happening. My internal world is evolving and breaking through to the Sector Lord level. This video will end here.